Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is a place where driven, determined coaches learn how to get off the business growth struggle bus and learn how to build a wildly profitable online coaching business. I'm your host, Allison Henderson, corporate dropout to six-figure social media business coach. I'm going to show you how I've been able to create the business of my dreams organically, all through utilizing my social media platforms. So pull up a seat, take some notes, and get ready to see your life and bank account transform. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Ambitious Coach Podcast. I just listened back to this week's interview I did with Jenna Kennedy, and I am so excited for you to listen to this. It really was a breath of fresh air. I left that episode just kind of being like, everybody needs to hear this today. So this conversation will definitely have you thinking about how you show up in your business, how you show up in your life, and just really thinking about what makes you happy and why aren't you doing more of those things. A few big key takeaways that I have from this episode is we got to stop that whole I'll be happy when scenario, or when XYZ happens, I'll be happy. Trust me, I've made a lot of money in this business. And yes, money has made me so happy. I'm able to do a lot of great things because I have made money, but you're still going to want to hit bigger milestones. So once I hit 100K, I was like, but why haven't I hit 200K, right? Like your brain immediately goes to that. And so I know that's something I work through all the time is like, stop living that when, or I'll be happy when scenario. And also, if every day you are waking up dreading your job or just dreading certain things in your business, it is time to figure out a new solution. Like if you hate getting on sales calls, or if you hate DMing, or if you hate your content, like figure out a new solution for you. There's so many different ways for you to build your business. It's okay if you want to let certain things go. And having that stress or just being miserable is no way to live your life. Stop doing that to yourself. There are other ways to do business or just to operate your life. No reason at all we should be walking around just being completely miserable. And your business is supposed to be fun and exciting. I would say most of the time, I want you waking up excited to get to work. And also we got to stop taking life so seriously. It was meant to be joyful. You were meant to be happy. And if you aren't familiar with Jenna Kennedy and her work, Jenna Kennedy is the host of Hope You're Well podcast and community, where she shares real, honest conversations to help people feel better and live more fulfilling lives. After closing her successful coaching business, navigating depression, and stepping into motherhood and finding her way through the messy middle of self-reinvention, she made it her mission to help others create lives that feel good to live. Through her podcasts and social platforms, Jenna blends mental health, personal growth, positive psychology, neuroscience, storytelling, and just raw honesty to help people reconnect to themselves and find joy every day. I really love this interview, and I highly recommend that you listen to her podcast, Hope You're Well. And it just, it was so inspiring to me. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation just as much as I did. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest. Her name is Jenna Kennedy, and she recently just came into my world. She's going to be a speaker, but I'm going to an event in San Diego, and she's going to be one of the guest speakers. So I started just binging her podcast, just being like, who is this chick? She just, I don't know. When I came to her profile on Instagram, she just radiated this thing, which I can't explain. You know, when you just like see somebody and you're just like, we need to be best friends. Like, yeah. So anyway, I wanted to have her on my podcast because I was binging her podcast and just everything was so relatable. And I know all of you guys really need to hear her message. And so, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, babe, what an intro. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, because nobody probably really knows who you are, please share with everybody, who are you?
Oh my gosh, what a loaded question. I think that's the hardest question that anyone can ever ask anyone. If you're listening, answer the question for yourself. Like, who are you? I don't know. I have no idea who I am, But
you have a very fascinating background and story.
I do. So I originally started as a teacher, right? Like that's who I am at the core. Truly, when I think about who I am at the core, I'm a teacher. And I taught kiddos for 8 years. I loved every single second of it. I think a lot of people leave their career path because they hate it. I left because I just felt like there was something more to life than what it was that I was doing. Even though I had all the degrees to become a principal and I loved what I did, I just had that feeling. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of us have in our life. Like, hold on, there's something more to life than this. It's not necessarily that life is bad, but there's something more to life than this. What I didn't really know was that feeling was going to continue on in my life. that the something more was this life. My husband and I, way back then, you probably don't know this, but we sold everything in Michigan. We got in an RV and we just traveled the US for a year together. And then we settled here in Texas, and I did a lot of different types of coaching along the way. And every time I was in a coaching like niche, I guess you could say, I still got that feeling like there's something more to life than this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like at one point, I was running a 7-figure company for a few years in a row. And I was like, what do you mean there's something more to life than this? Like, this is life. Like, what do you mean? And I just kept continuously following that feeling of there's something more to life than this. And it's led me to where I am now, which is a podcaster, still a teacher in my heart, and really diving in, exploring this world of the science of happiness and how do we really, really, truly live a long, like a lasting, fulfilling, happy life. And that's kind of what my work has been at this moment in time. I still do some coaching and stuff, but I just am exploring just how to live the happiest life and teaching others how to do the same.
So, okay, because I feel the same way in a sense of like, I'm always saying that of like, there has to be more to this. Like when I first started coaching, my big thing was like, what's my purpose? Like, why am I here? And once again, really loaded questions. And you're just like, will I ever know the answer to that? So I guess I'm asking you, like, will we know that answer at some point? Like, is there more to life? Am I ever going to stop feeling like that? Because I think so many people are probably have the same feeling right now. Like, I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to get clients. I'm trying to be happy doing this too. In gratitude, we always hear being gratitude, right? It's like, but they're still not fulfilled. They're still not really happy. Like, so does that question go away? Like, do you stop asking that at some point?
Honestly, I don't know if it goes away. I would love to like ask Tony Robbins, does that question go away? Or like Dr. Joe Dispenza, like I would love to ask these people that are at the pinnacle of their careers that are really rooted in service and be like, hey, does that go away? I don't know if that feeling is, as humans, we are meant to live out our max potential and we're meant to like really, truly like grow and evolve in our max potential, or if it's that, or if it's this, like, our hearts, our souls, whatever you want to call it, being like, hey, there's something else, and like listen to it and like go on this journey to discover it. I think it's a little bit of both. I think that if we're not on our path, if we're not doing work that we are meant to be doing and that we're not fulfilled in doing, I don't think that question's ever going to go away until we discover what that is.
That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we have an obligation to follow it. Like I don't think that we can have lasting happiness and fulfillment if we have that feeling, that nagging feeling like there's something more to life than this. I don't think we'll feel fulfilled because we always know that there's something else or that there's something more.
Yeah. So I was always told to do what brings you joy. Like you'll always find happiness in obviously doing the things that you like to do. So if somebody right now maybe is kind of just feeling like the nudge to try something new or to go down a different path even, or maybe it's just like to try a new strategy. I don't know. It's just something like, what is that? I guess, how do we, do we just follow the pull? Like what do we know to do?
Well, it's a hard thing is we don't know what to do because nobody's writing these playbooks for our own lives, Like I can do one thing in my life that can be different than something in someone else's life. I think we have to listen to that feeling. I really do. But here's the thing that stops us is that we assign meaning to it. We're like, okay, well, this will make me happy or this will get me that. And we were really bad as adults at just exploring something just to explore it and not making it mean anything, but just like, oh, wait, this feels good. Let me go see if there's something here. Oh, this feels nice. Let me go explore what this is. But like, I don't know about you, is if anyone's listening and they've ever experienced this pull to like becoming an artist, it's something that a lot of people have of like, I want to draw, I want to paint. And then you go to one class and it doesn't look like the way that you want it to. And so what do? You give up. I did that with pottery. I was like, I want to do pottery. The first time I sat down at this wheel, I made the most beautiful, perfect bowl. My first time ever. And I'm like, I'm a pottery person. I don't know what they're called, potters. I'm a pottery person. Like, I'm so proud of myself. Look at this beautiful piece of art. And then I moved the wheel just a little bit because I wanted to make it a little bit more perfect. And the whole entire bowl crumbled. And I literally almost lost my mind. I was like, I like crunched it up. I was there with friends, so I like pulled myself together, but I definitely had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my God, it was perfect. And I made myself a promise that I wasn't going to stop there. I was going to continue to go back. And it wasn't about the bowl. It was about me learning pottery and discovering myself through pottery. And we're not taught that as humans. We're taught, here's what it needs to look like. So I think a lot of us don't go down that route. And even if we do go down that route, we're afraid of what it's going to look like. We're afraid of what other people are going to think. We're afraid, what if we fail at it? And it's like, we have to let all of that go and just let ourselves explore, just to explore. And that is where happiness, one of the places that happiness can be found is exploring ourselves and doing things that we've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I have something. I don't know if I've ever told anybody besides like maybe some friends, but like I've always really liked sci-fi romance books. And so there was a part of me that's always like, when I'm sleeping or like right before I go to bed, like I'll like literally write these books in my head.
Yes.
Like, this is what this person should say this and this person should do that and this and like all these storylines. And I'll tell them to my daughter some nights before we go to bed because sometimes she'll just straight up ask like, what's your book tonight? Like, what's the thing in your, I was like, last night I started this. So tonight I had to finish that scene or like, I kind of want to develop it this way. So are you trying to tell me
that you need to become a sci-fi romance writer?
But like, there's a part of me that's like, I was never good at writing. I wouldn't even know how to start to write a book. I just have ideas. Like there's a lot going on up here. It's almost like, you have your own movie. Like this is my book, but in movie format, just in my brain.
Yeah.
I've always had like something going on. Like I like this. Blah, blah, I don't know.
Yeah, but what stops it, right? Like you immediately came forward with like 3 stories, right? Like, I don't know where to start. I'm like, well, you have an idea. That's literally where people start.
Yeah.
Right. And we have these stories that stop us. And so then the question is like, what do we want? Do we want to fight for the story that we've had our whole lives? Or do we want to just explore this? And we both are moms. Like if your daughter came to you and they're like, but I really want to write a book. Like you would help her figure it out. You're like, well, where do you think we start? And it would be this fun and this imagination and this exploration. And it would be a beautiful journey for you both. But why don't we do that for ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, it's like, I don't know where to start. And I've never been a writer. And my teachers told me that I wasn't a good writer. And it's like, well, what if none of those things, what if those were not your stories anymore?
Yeah. I know. I should just sit.
I know, right?
And at least just like try to get something on paper. Yeah.
Or not, or you don't sit down, because we also have so many stories about what it means to be a writer. And it's like, oh my God, a writer's block and it takes so long and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, what if it was just you told the story into your phone one day and then you transcribed it and then you put it into Chat GPT and you're like, don't change the story, but just turn it into something that has order. And then who knows? What does it look like?
Yeah. Yeah. We live in the best time in history to have these writing tools at our fingertips. It's crazy to be quite honest.
To have any tools.
Yeah.
Right? Any tools, any creation things that we want. We live at the best time, or do we, right? Because we are more blocked, I think, than ever before. I think we see more people. So we judge ourselves or we see how things are done and we think that our way is the wrong way, So it's like, while yes, we have more access to things, I think we also have more of self-perceived limitations than we ever have before as well.
Explore that a bit more because I think so many people listening to this are comparing themselves every single day.
Yeah.
And yes, we live in the best time in history to create content and to, get a sales page written in seconds and all these things. But like, still people don't do it. They're still not making the money they want to make. You know what I mean? Like there's still, like I said, the limitations sometimes. So just kind of like going a little deeper into that, what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just that. It's also like, look at this, how much access we have to health and fitness and wellness. And then it's like, but we're more sick and overweight and unhappy in our bodies than ever before. We could say that same exact pattern for, gosh, look at our iPhones. We're more connected than ever before, yet our literally loneliness is now an epidemic via the CDC and the World Health Organization that like being lonely is like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It's how horrible it is for our health. Yet we're more connected on Instagram and TikTok and text messages and FaceTime than we ever have before. And so I just think that we're at this time where the discrepancy is so big, where we have access to all of these things, that whatever we have these dreams that we think that we want to do it is possible. But then we have these stories, it all starts with the stories. What are the stories that we hold within our minds and within our bodies and within our families, within our generational patterns that are stopping us from being able to really do it? And it's a sobering experience when you have to sit there and be like, wow, I could, but I'm not, and why am I not? And then exploring that. I'm a big fan of therapy. I love therapy. Whenever my friends call me and if I can't help them with something, I'm like, but you going to go to therapy yet? Because we've talked about this about 12 times and I'm kind of over it. I'm always talking to people about going to therapy. I love it. And it's saved my life truly and helps to make my life better every single week that I go, and so I think that it has to be a very real therapeutic conversation, whether it's in a therapy state or someone else that you trust or just yourself, of just like, well, what am I afraid of? What part of me is running the show right now? What is this, a trauma response? Where did this come from? We start to recognize that like, oh, this is a pattern that actually my mom also had. And we don't live up to our full potential in my family. And so do I want to be the one that confronts it, or do I want to pass this along to my kid? Because that's really what happens when we come up against these things. It's like, do I want to be the one, or am I going to pass it on down? And so I just think we have more of those now than ever before as humans. And we just have to ask ourselves, do I want to be the one that stops it, or do I want to pass it down? Or do I want to not even pass it down? Do I want to be the one that stops it, or do I want to continue on this path? One thing that I do a lot is I ask myself, if this story stayed of like, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough followers, I failed once, and I'm always going to be a failure, I don't have what it takes. We all have the same stories. Let's be honest. We could break them down. They'd all be the same. Even people who have this smashing success. And, if I'll sit there and I'll ask myself, if this story plays out in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what will my life look like then? And will I be proud of it? And then I literally will play that out through my entire life. And I get to a point where I'm like, oh God, I can't live this story out anymore. But that's hard work to do. It's really deep therapeutic work. And it's hard to come up against those parts of us that are stopping us and holding us back.
Man. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be listening to this and being like, I don't want to pass this on to my kids. Like these thoughts, stories that we just keep, literally it's a pattern every day. We're saying the same stuff over and over again.
Yep.
I guess because, one of your big things is happiness, the science of happiness. Like, how did that start in your life? Like, I know that you said you quit your job and like did all these things, but now the science of happiness has kind of been your thing. So what's the story there?
3 years ago, I shut down my 7-figure business coaching business, and I had sacrificed everything. I worked my tail off. I quit my career to build that business. And one day I woke up and there's a lot that went into that shutdown, but then I shut it down and I didn't have anything anymore. I had some clients and stuff, but, my identity was so wrapped up into being a successful entrepreneur and so much that was, feelings and emotions and feeling like there was something more to this, even though I just literally worked my entire tail off for 3 years to build it. And when you choose to shut something like that down and it was a choice. I also equally felt like a failure. It sounds kind of weird to say, but there was just so much into it that I started down very, very gnarly level with depression. And it was one of those things that I say therapy changed saved my life, that, there were months I couldn't get off the couch. My husband was like, come on, babe, like, let's just take the dogs for a walk. I'm like, no. I'm not taking the dogs for a walk. You can't get me off this couch. And I said to him one day, I was very broken down. And I said to him, and I was like, I feel like I just have to fight for my happiness. And like, I don't even know where to start. And it's not fair. And very intense therapy. I was going a couple of days a week, and my therapist is phenomenal, and started to slowly feel the weight lift. And I started to promise myself when the weight was lifting, because if you've ever battled depression, there's no like, oh, well, brighter days are ahead. My dad would be like, honey, God's going to use you for, use this, for, putting you through this so that you can use it one day. And I was like, I hate everyone. All right. Nobody even talked to me about what life could be like, because you can't see anything if you've ever had a season with depression. And when I started to feel the weightlifting, I was like, I don't ever want to be there again. I have somebody in my family that I love very dearly has battled depression their whole life. And I've watched them be on and off, antidepressant meds and struggle with seasonal depression. And so it was really difficult when I was diagnosed with depression, because I was like, wait, I thought I beat the depression. Like, I thought I was the one that I thought I successed my way out of it. That was my whole life. My pattern was, if I can just be super successful, I'll never struggle with the things that my parents struggled with: alcoholism, addiction, divorce, the list goes on. And so when I got that diagnosis and I found myself there, I was like, oh God, what did I do to get here? And when I was coming out of it, I was like, I never want to be there again. I never want to be where my, people in my family have been. And I want to learn how to really, truly have lasting happiness. Because what I realized was that none of us are really good at happiness, because we think that happiness is dependent upon this current emotional state that we're experiencing. And the reality is that happiness is not just this emotion that we can stay in. Life is full of ups and downs and everything in between. And so then I discovered that there was a whole entire world of positive psychology, neuroscience, and the science of happiness and well-being. And I was like, wait a second. Why has nobody taught us how our neurochemistry works? Why has nobody taught me about my dopamine levels, serotonin? Why has no one taught me about literally this whole entire world that's out there and how to make life better through psychology and how to actually scientifically be happier in our lives? And so I became obsessed with studying about it. And I was like, I'm not going to get back there. I'm not ever going to get back there again. I don't want to be back there. I, again, see people that I love struggle with it. And I'm like, I'm going to do everything that I can to learn how to really, truly be a happier person and live a happier life. And so that's what sparked it. And I love it because everything that I learn, I integrate in my life. And I'm like, wait, it's actually working. Like, wait, I am actually happier. Because like you said it earlier, my whole life, I was just like, well, just tell yourself what you're grateful for and you'll be happier, right? Well, I got to a point in life where I'm like, these things don't work anymore. Gratitudes are annoying and they don't work anymore. So what else do they got? And I just started really becoming obsessed with it. And I always joke that if I had time and, I had the money that I wanted to spend in this way, that I would just go back to school and get my PhD in positive psychology because I love it so much. But then it's not something I care to do with my life. I've got an almost 1-year-old and I just don't care to do that. But it's something I absolutely love.
That's so fascinating. And I think the depression piece, I think even postpartum depression, women are going through a lot of that after having kids. It's like,
yep.
They want to be grateful or they want to say, I'll get out of this. But sometimes it's just so hard. I know about myself is like, I am a positive person, but like I have the negative pattern first. Yeah. And then I have to like kind of fight my way out of that.
Yeah.
My poor husband, because I feel like we have like the same conversation like almost every day of like, this is happening today. He's like, okay, all right, let's get. Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're right, okay, and he kind of has to bring me out of that sometimes. Of like,
yeah,
we live a great life where everything is okay, and sometimes you just kind of need to be like reminded of that. But like, I don't know, like, so for the person that immediately goes into the negative spiral, like the downward spiral. Like, what would you say to them of like, you don't have to have this pattern every day?
Well, for sure. Well, first I would ask 2 questions. I would ask, what's your biggest fear? Like, where are you spiraling to? Like, why, why the spiral? Where are we going?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and then I also would recognize that is just simply a pattern that somebody picked up literally for survival, probably 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, depending on how long it is. That's a normal pattern for like a 6, 7, 8-year-old where it's like, oh my God, something I feel out of control. Usually it's, something like that. I'm afraid, I feel out of control. So I'm going to spiral into worst case scenario and be super hyper aware of what's around me. And then I'm like with the spiral is sometimes grabbing onto something that I can control and I got to find something that I can control. And then I have that. Oh my God, now I feel better about myself. Yeah. That's a survival technique. Yeah. It's literally like something happens that triggers it. And then you're going back to that time, probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And then you're literally spiraling for a sense of control. Out of a fear. And then it's like, what's the fear? Fear that, we're going to be broke. Fear that I'm going to fail. Like there's usually a fear wrapped up in there. So I love to get into all of it. And it's like, well, what's the fear? Where are we going back to? What part are you going back to in your life? And why is that happening? And when we can recognize that, it's like, oh, silly, that's just a pattern. And we cannot identify with the pattern, but be removed and be the conscious observer of the pattern and be like, oh, I see what's happening here. Yeah. Then we start to repattern and reprogram ourselves. Yeah.
So, okay. So you have the pattern. Like, is it like when you start to notice the thoughts, what do you suggest to do?
Well, what are the thoughts?
Like, I guess one could be, if nobody signs up for my program this week, like I'm a failure or something. Like if nobody signs up, I feel like that's a common one for most entrepreneurs listening to this. Like if nobody signs up for this, I'm a failure.
For sure. Well, yeah, that's so normal. And then unfortunately what happens is like there's all this buildup and it's like, well, the day that I launch it, then you want to get these signups and it's like, and then you drop the link and it's like, oh my God, nobody has touched the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did coaching for like 6 years. I know how this goes. I definitely know how this goes.
I'm in a launch right now. So like, these are still things that like pop up for me too. It's not like it goes.
And I also want to say for sure. And I also want to say that I built a 7-figure coaching business, like 7 figures in a year, not like, how people will do like over the course of like 10 years, but like literally 2 7-figure years back to back.
Wow.
And I always had these thoughts. Yeah. So I just want to put that into like perspective for anyone that's like, I feel that way. So did I. Every single time I launched something, and it was an emotional train wreck. I think that's a part of the reason why I left. I honestly left the coaching space because I was like, this is a lot to always have this like roller coaster. So, the question is, so you said you launched something, no one's signing up or like one person signs up. Sometimes I think one person signing up is worse than no one, right. And then you're like, okay, it starts to spiral and I'm a failure. Well, then my question would be like, well, what are you making that mean about you?
Yeah.
And then it's usually like, well, that I, because it's what's interesting is what's happening is it's a situation and we're internalizing it, which is shame.
Yeah.
And then we stay silent about our shame. And then it just builds and builds and spirals and spirals. And then of course we're women. So what happens like a champagne bottle, it's like spiraling. And all of a sudden in one moment it's going to pop and you freak out. And then it's like, then you really have to confront it, So it's, what does that mean about you? What are you making that mean about you? And I literally will ask myself that question over and over and over until I get to like the most core truth that I can find.
Yeah.
Nobody likes me. I'm not lovable. I'm, for some of us, we grew up in homes. This was me. We grew up in homes where money was survival. I was raised by a single mom. My dad wasn't really interested in being a dad back then, wasn't paying child support. And so my mom was making, 30 something thousand dollars a year as a single mom of 2 kids. So for me, my money stuff, it was really survival. It was like, hold on. Like my mom lived in a state of survival financially, and I did my entire life up until I became an entrepreneur. And so, it's survival. And so then we have to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I literally feel like I'm going to die or I'm not going to be able to provide for my kids. And like, that's a heavy story for someone to hold. And of course it's coming up. And then as it's coming up, it's like, okay, well, what am I making this mean about me? And then what am I not willing to believe about me? If you have that story and you're holding on to that, you really can't fully believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do all of this because here's the thing is we're all going to have things that people don't sign up for. People don't even free things. People don't touch it. People don't sign up for it. People don't listen to the podcast, whatever it is. People don't like your stuff. Instagram algorithm is so messed up right now, and like, I think that's getting to a lot of people's heads too.
For sure.
And this is just a part of entrepreneurship. This is just a part of online leadership. Like I said, it's normal for everyone. And so we have to be able to do that work for ourselves. And then we can look at what's happening. All right, what's really going on now? Is my marketing not nailing? Did I not warm my audience up more for this? Am I actually selling something that I thought was a problem, but it's actually not really a problem, which now I just have to shift. Like companies do this, big companies and organizations do this, but they're not tied to it like we are because we're selling ourselves.
Yeah. It's so personal to us.
So personal. Yeah. And so if it's so personal, it's going to pull on every single core wound that we have. Yeah. How many people listening have the core wound of I'm not good enough? Well, guess what's going to happen every time that you have a launch that doesn't go as planned or you don't get the engagement you want on social media? That's going to come up. Or, I don't believe in myself. That's another core one. I don't have what it takes. Okay, well, that's going to come up every single time. So it's like, I believe these things come up so that we can heal them and so that we can become the entrepreneurs that we want to become. But it's hard. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. The emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, like I was lucky one of my first few coaches like explained that to me. And so every time he was like, hey, you're gonna downward spiral. Like, and that's why you need coaches that like kind of pick you back up. Like you got to have people to hold you through this, or whether it be therapy or something like that. Like, don't do this alone. Like, even though you are going to feel alone a lot because it is your own business, you don't have partners. There's nobody micromanaging you. You don't have anybody just to call really to just be like, this is my business. What's going on? It's like, it's just not easy. And a lot of, I feel like when I'm coaching my clients, sometimes it's just like, oh, it's nice to just have somebody to talk to like about everything that's going on. And so I always encourage people like, get the help you need. Like, don't do this alone. But anyway,
It's true though. It's really true. When I was building my companies previously, all my coaching, I always always had a coach because I was like, I'd never done this before, number one, but number two, like this is a lot mentally, emotionally, physically, this is a lot, And so I did, I had my coaches and I loved having my coaches. Even now I don't have a formal coach, but I have my girlfriends that are right there with me that we meet all the time. And I've got I've got plenty of other support in other ways. And so it's like, we can't do it alone.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you a really crazy question. Does money buy happiness?
It does until a certain point. Yeah.
Because I think so many people listening are like waiting. Oh, when I hit this or when I get this and I can pay this off. Because I've been like debt free. Like that's kind of recent for us. But like, I just feel, oh God, what a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. But I still have but there's more, right? Like there's more out, I'm not.
Yeah. So overall, are you really, truly happier? Probably not.
And it's like, I've made a lot of money in my lifetime. Does it? And it's just like, yes, money can buy happiness to an extent. And then it's like, there's more to it. So I'd love to just kind of hear your take on that.
Well, research shows that let me say this. Research showed this in like early 2000s, in the 90s. So let's just realize that inflation is real.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That up to 75,000 was the threshold of like if you made more than that, then you definitely were let me backtrack. Up to 75,000, like the state of happiness at 75,000, nothing changed above 75,000.
I feel like I've heard this before. Yeah.
Yep. And so again, that was back then. My guess now is honestly probably like 80, 90,000 with inflation. So if money is getting you out of a state of survival, then of course it's going to support your happiness levels, right? If you are really struggling to put food on the table, if you are struggling to pay your bills, if you are struggling to make rent, then of course, money is going to help you be happier. Money takes away a lot of stress, which supports us in our happiness levels. However, they say that after that, once your basic needs are met, once you're like good, like survival, you're not in survival, then no, it actually doesn't. But this is what's crazy is that everyone's like, no, but it would for me. It would for me. If I just was debt free, it would for me. And it's like, no, it'll give you some relief on like your payments or whatever it is, but it won't, because we do this thing, two different things. Science calls it the arrival fallacy. We do this all the time of like, well, when I make blank, then I'll be happy. We do it a lot with money. We do it a lot with marriages, partnerships, like my single friends, like, but when I get married, I'll be happy. And then guess what? They're married. And I'm like, guess not. No. When I have kids, I'll be happy. I'm like, please don't ever say that out loud. I worked with kids for 8 years. Please don't put that pressure on your kids. But we do this thing where it's an arrival fallacy. I'll be happy when I make blank amount of money. And what happens is that our brains get really good at adapting to things. We know this, like it's called the hedonic adaptation, which essentially means, okay, when I make this much money, I'm going to be happy. Then we get to, let's say 100,000, let's say 6 figures. It's your first big milestone as an entrepreneur. When I make 6 figures, I'll be happy. You get to 6 figures, you're happy for what? 3 months, 3 weeks. And then it's like, okay, but no, for real, when I get to 200,000, I'll be happy. When I get to 500,000, I'll be happy. When I get to this, I'll be happy, because our brain adapts to it. And it doesn't make us happier anymore. And we can take this out of entrepreneurship. They've done studies where actually giving people raises does not support their job performance. It does not support their job satisfaction. It literally does not. We think it will, but it doesn't. I think another reason why this happens is because we live in the world of social media. Yeah. Before social media, you didn't see people that had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times the amount of money that you did, because if you didn't live in the neighborhood, you didn't see it. But now we see it all the time on social media, and we see people celebrating their money wins, and we see people living these lifestyles with this money. And so then we're like, oh, wait, they must be happy. So I want what they want, which is blank amount of money. And we just chase it and we chase it. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't work. I watch so many friends of mine and so many clients cross the 7-figure milestone. And I watch them within an hour be like, damn, I thought that this was going to feel better than it did. I'm like, yeah, still had the same marriage problems, still had the same self-worth problems, still had the same clients that they were like, I'm actually not fulfilled working with these clients. Even Instagram followers, I see it all the time. When I get to 100,000, then I'll be happy. No, it's just a number. Yeah. Just a number. So yeah, if you're literally in survival mode, it will definitely make you happier.
Yeah.
If you're out of survival mode, it won't.
I think
And
a
it's
lot of people
proven
need to hear
over
that.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what happens. Well, no, for me though, it for real will be. I always said that, but for real, for me, it'll be different. It wasn't. It wasn't at all. Not at all.
All right. So right now, there's probably a lot of women listening to this who are just like, but how do I just get happier? Like, how do I get like, the natural dopamine, not just like scrolling on social media dopamine? Because I know that's a big thing here is like
Oh
happiness.
yeah.
Like, and I know that you've talked about this in your podcast, and I'd love for these women to kind of hear a little bit more about like, how can I just be happier in my day-to-day life?
So good. I mean, we could talk about this for 19 million hours, and this is the whole science, right? I'll start with here. I realized that so much of my depression, I was depleted in dopamine. I feel like we have to talk about dopamine if we're going to talk about happiness. And dopamine is a neurochemical, one of them that's responsible for happiness, but it's also responsible for like setting goals, going after goals, being excited for life, like just literally overall feeling positive. And so many of us are completely depleted in dopamine or have major difficulties with our dopamine because one of the main things that give us big hits of dopamine are our phones. And I would never do this to somebody in person. Okay. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want anyone to ever do it to me in person. But if you right now went to your phone and you looked at the activity of your phone right now, I think you just have to swipe over and you can look at how much activity, like how many hours would somebody be on? Like, would you be on your phone? Right. Like brutal honesty right now. Let's just go ahead. And when you look at that number, you have to realize that majority of it probably is social media. And when you look at that social media number, what you have to realize is that every minute that you're on that, your dopamine is getting depleted, which means your overall ability to be happier is getting depleted as well. And that should be a hard pill to swallow, because if you really want to take your happiness into your own hands, we have to be like radical responsibility about where we're leaking our energy and where we're leaking our precious dopamine that is actually going to have the opposite effect on overall happiness and well-being. And so I know it's hard. I was listening to an addiction specialist out of Harvard, or maybe it was Stanford. I can't remember which one. And she was saying that she believes that about 96% of us are addicted to our phones.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
crazy, but I truly believe that this is one of the main things that are stopping us from being able to be happy, because there's blocks and then there's things that we can do in our lives. There's no way if you do all the things that the science of happiness like tells you to do, but you're still addicted to your phone and you're comparing your life to others and you're getting depleted, it's going to have an opposite effect on it. So that's the first thing that I just have to say, because I know it was a big thing for me, and I get it. It's hard. We're online business owners. So what do? We're online. So it's hard. It's like an alcoholic that is newly sober walking into a bar every single day, right? My dad told me that analogy when he got sober 16 years ago. He's like, I just can't walk into bars anymore. I'm like, oh, the environment, right? If you're addicted to anything else, you literally remove yourself from the environment and you don't go near the environment. Well, we can't do that with our phones, especially if you run an online business. So that caveat. But the other thing is, God, there's so many things. And this is why my Friday episodes on the podcast are dedicated for the science of happiness, because there's so much. Obviously there's gratitudes. I think that every single person knows like gratitudes. And I think everyone is probably rolling their eyes, because I think a lot of people are over gratitudes. And that's what happens is, again, when we do something consistently, we get desensitized to it, the hedonic adaptation. So one thing that I started doing was what's called savoring. And this is so simple. This is just stopping and taking a moment to just like savor a moment. Like you would like a really delicious like cup of coffee. I don't know if people are pumpkin spice latte fans. I've actually never had a pumpkin spice latte, but if you like take a sip of the latte and you're like, oh my God, it feels so good. Science actually proves that doing that throughout the day, it will stretch our happiness versus like just let it be fleeting. So I've like literally trained myself to do it at many, many, many times throughout my day, and just kind of give myself these little breaks of gratitude and of savoring, and truly will help you be so much happier. Another thing that you can do is have physical movement in your life and in your day. It boosts every single neurochemical and hormone that's responsible for happiness. So I call them my mental health walks. And I don't care. We don't have winter anymore down here. I left the Midwest, so I escaped that whole life. However, I do have 100+ degree days, multiple months in a row in Texas. And I make literally, even when I was pregnant, I was like, I have to get out. Even when I lived in Michigan, I did it as well. I was like, I have to in the winter as well, because it just literally boosts every single thing that's responsible for happiness. I'm like, how much do we want to say in here? Research has shown that the happiest people work within, this is interesting for entrepreneurship, they work within their strengths They're like, I call them my God-given gifts. And they do work that helps somebody else, that helps people.
Yeah. I truly
Now,
believe that too.
yeah. And what's interesting, right, is entrepreneurship is like, well, I think I'm doing that. I'm coaching. But the question is it really truly your God-given gift? And is it really truly what you love to do? Because when I asked myself that question, I was like, actually coaching, I'm really good at it. It's definitely within my zone of like goodness, phenomenal at helping people. But when I really asked myself, I'm like, but I'm not in love with doing it 24/7. Like I don't love doing it every day, all day. I love doing it at times, but there's other things that I love even more. And so we have to get really real with ourselves of like, is this truly what it is that I love to do? And then if it's not, shift our lives and our businesses around so that we can do something like that. Finding enjoyment in our lives, like what brings you actual joy? That's a question that we often don't ask ourselves in our lives at all. Having satisfaction, like that satisfaction, that savoring, like feeling satisfied with your life and your story. And definitely doing work that's meaningful to you. You know, we're humans that we want meaning. We want meaning and we want to live meaningful lives. But if we don't have that meaning, we're not going to be able to be happy. And so I feel like that was a good place to start. There's so many things. I could literally talk about this for hours and hours and hours.
I love the satisfied part because I think because we're entrepreneurs, we're never satisfied because we want more, right?
Of course.
But my husband, even though he's an entrepreneur, like he owns his own recording studio. The other day I was he was, I don't know, fiddling, doing something in the basement. And I just yelled down like, what are we doing with our lives? I was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm really fulfilled and satisfied. So this is all a you thing.
You're like, oh no, you are?
I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like people are out here just like satisfied and fulfilled with like okay, all right. He's so great.
Yeah.
This is why every morning he gets like he's my hype girl. You know what I mean? Like, he'll be like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. This is fine. Like you don't need to. I was like, okay, you're right. Okay. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And we have to ask ourselves that question as entrepreneurs. Like, well, why am I not satisfied?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I've been eating all day long, but I'm still hungry? Like what is that? What is that within me that doesn't feel like it's ever enough?
Yeah.
You know, and we have to get real with ourselves because I'll tell you, you know, a big part of me shutting my business down was I was burning out. Like I was like, I'm tired. I'm not excited to create programs and launch. I'm not excited to get on my calls. Like I'm not excited anymore. And I promised myself when I left a career that I absolutely loved that I was going to be excited about the work that I did. I'm like, well, I don't understand because I worked so hard to build this. Like,
yeah, that's
why
hard.
am I not excited? You know, and so I had to get really real with myself of like, wow, it isn't ever enough. And that pattern will send every single person into burnout. And getting yourself out of burnout is one of the hardest journeys that somebody can do because it's not just mental, it's physical. Your adrenals took a turn, your hormones are taxed. Like there's a lot that gets into it. And so especially if you have kids, I couldn't imagine being in burnout when I had with kids. And so, you know, we just have to be really real. Like, wow, yeah, I'm not satisfied, but I'm still chasing. And then hold on, if I keep this pattern, where's it going to end up? Oh, every successful entrepreneur that has been in burnt out, every successful entrepreneur has been in burnout. And you listen, you're like, what can I learn from them? But I don't find myself there as well. And then we also have to look at, you know, are we living satisfying lives outside of business? You know, because I said it earlier, when I chose to shut down my seven-figure company, my entire life and identity was wrapped up into it. And so it's like, I wasn't living an enjoyable life. I wasn't hanging out with my friends, you know, like I do now. I wasn't just going to randomly get margaritas at happy hour on a you know, Friday night on a rooftop because we just can, you know, I wasn't going to different classes and exploring myself. I definitely wasn't taking pottery. I didn't have time for that. I wasn't, you know, doing things with my body and my health and my fitness that I wanted to do. I wasn't wake surfing. I wasn't doing any of that because I was so worried about growing my business, you know? And so we also have to be really real of like, if the business was gone tomorrow, would I be proud of the life that I'm living? And often the answer is no.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. All right, babe. I feel like we covered so much today.
We did.
Is there any like, I don't know, like last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think it would really be that, honestly. If the business or whatever it is that you're trying to build, if it was gone tomorrow, would you be fulfilled and would you be happy? And if the answer is no, then, do yourself the biggest gift of a lifetime and go on that journey. It doesn't have to be shutting the business down and doing it. Like I'm not advocating for that. That was a grueling journey doing that. But I do recommend looking at how to be happier and how to be more fulfilled.
Thank you. Well, how can people learn more about you? I know you have a podcast, so kind of give yourself a little pitch here.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. It's Jenna Kennedy on both of them. I recently went on TikTok because I was like, what's all the hype about? I got to see what's going on over here. And honestly, it's really fun. If you're finding yourself feeling blocked as a creator, I highly recommend going on TikTok. Don't tell anyone. And just create 2 TikToks a day for 30, 40 days. It was so much fun. It was such a fun experiment. And then, my podcast is Hope You're Well. I'm there soon to be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Fridays are Science of Happiness. Wednesdays are guests, and Mondays are just real talks about life and happiness and healing and all the things.
Yes. Listen to our podcast. It's so good. It's so good. And I'm so excited to meet you in person
Yes, me too.
Month. So,
next month. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's going to come up real fast. I know. I feel like I bought those tickets and I'm like, that's forever away. And I'm like, oh, wait, crap. It's really close.
I know. I was literally just talking to Sam. We were saying that. She's like, well, see you, in 6 weeks or something. I'm like, oh, I got to book my flight. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. You're just amazing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Coach podcast today. A couple favors before you go. If you found this episode helpful, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Most importantly, don't forget to tag me at Allison Henderson _coach. That's ALLISON Henderson _coach. And lastly, please take a minute to rate this episode and leave a raving review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Okay, ambition is great, but it's time to get to work. Take action and commit to being 1% better every day. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again next week.